Namaskar and good evening. We welcome you this evening to our third session of introducing our trainers for Showcase Unique, a new service that's been started by Showcase Events. So, for today, we have a very special guest with us. Other than her expertise in different areas of the digital world and social media, that is like a separate campaign altogether. But today's session is purely about the story that you need to tell about you. So join me in welcoming on stage Saloni Mehta. Hi Saloni,
Hello.
good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, and welcome to the Showcase Unique sessions.
I'm so excited about this. We've been talking
And
about this for a while, so
yes, and we are super excited to have you with us. And what is very special is because I know whatever few times in the few conversations that I have had with you, there's been so much learning for me. It's improved my LinkedIn, and that's what I used to always look up to you as a LinkedIn strategist all this while. But there is just so much more that I've learned from you, and I felt that that was a value that was coming to showcase unique, and given our motto of work on you for you. So let's talk about today, Saloni, and I'm going to hand it over to you. The
yes.
story you need to tell about you.
Yes. So Nani, what happens is, like you, most people come to me saying we need to improve our LinkedIn for multiple reasons. Usually to get hired, but also because hey, I've started my company. I want branding. I want visibility, or I'm a senior leader, so I need to build my presence and my brand. Either because I interview other senior leaders, or because post pandemic, especially they realize that offline networks are not enough. The world has suddenly become extremely connected, and um, the switch on how you look at talent changed. So even the senior leaders, they realize that they need to build a presence and to be able to catapult, um, and leave a legacy and be heard.
Hmm.
The other thing that happens is many women actually, when I started talking to them, and I'm very entrenched with the women community, is they all are competent, confident, extremely good at their jobs, but there was a constant crib. Somebody else always gets it, man. We are not taken seriously, and there are multiple reasons. But one of the biggest reasons, somebody else gets ahead, gets the gig you think you deserve, whether you're a woman, or organization, or a person, is you don't do 40% of your job. Most people think doing a good job is enough. No, 40% of your job is ensuring that the world knows you're doing your job. And again, you need to be able to say it right, say it to the right people, and most importantly, make it memorable. If I'm going to come and give a long spiel of how good I am, nobody cares. They want stories. They want to know, they want something which will capture their imagination here. And which is why, and the other thing that happens is, if today, Nani, I told you to sell me, you did a fantastic job. If I tell Nani to sell her company, or rather I tell Nani, you need to promote yourself, you're like, but I don't know what I should say. Like, I do what I do. And which is why the topic of today, which I decided that we should talk about, is the story you need to tell about you. Because the one company that you work for, which will never ever cease to exist as long as you exist, is you. And if you don't know what is your story, which you need to tell the person or whatever in front of you, you just did a 50 or 60% good enough job.
But many times I might, when I say I am like just saying from the larger perspective, I might know my story. I might know what I want to share, but I haven't got it right. I'm obviously not being able to say it the way it needs to be heard, right? That gap sort of comes in. So how does that work?
So there are two parts to this. And I'm going to take the easier part first, which is, have you taken the efforts to know your audience?
Hmm.
Who are you talking to? What is it that what is it that they care about? what is the language they understand, right?
True.
And that is like extremely important. And I'm going to actually take a small story, because we're talking about stories. I
Yeah.
had a client and we were actually talking about owning her narratives and removing minimizing language. And some of these fundamental tenets exist across communication. And a couple of sessions later, she came back and she said, Saloni, I'm excited because, I am a technical person and I was giving a presentation which was a combination of business folks and technical folks. For the
Mm-hmm.
first time, I designed my presentation in such a way that I finished the business section first, where I explained the impact and the highlights which business cares about. And after I was done with that, I told the room that, hey, this is where the end of things that you care about ends. I'm going to get into more technical details. So for those who are interested, they can stay back. Otherwise, we're done. And she had phenomenal feedback coming back, coming in from the audience, because
Mm-hmm.
she understood that if I'm going to give one long winded presentation going into every single nitty gritty, I'm losing all the audience.
True, true,
Versus
true.
I highlight that this part of the conversation is for you. This is what matters to you. Translate it into the language you care about. I don't want to understand what's the difference between a JSON and an API and etc. I just care about how it impacts my business.
Hmm, hmm,
The
hmm.
tech person probably cares a lot more about the technicalities, which is where knowing your audience, knowing the language, and then also the other part which is coming to you is what is the key message or the key messages that you want to hit home. Now, the
Hmm,
same
hmm,
story could have been a 5 minute long story, but I just wanted to hit home on the language part of things. So I stuck to that,
hmm,
right?
hmm.
So it's extremely important to know what is that one big takeaway that my audience should get from what I have to say, right? What are the specific things I'm going to give to
Hmm,
anchor my audience, right?
hmm,
Because what we tend to do often when we try to tell a story is we go all over the place because we want to build a very vivid picture.
hmm,
You
hmm,
don't.
hmm.
You need to just give me one or two anchors so that I can imagine what you're saying, I can relate to what you're saying, and give me the specifics that matter. Specifics could be numbers, it could be data, it could be outcomes, it could be impacts, it could be an emotion, it could be many other things. But you need to nail that down. That's when you have a good story.
This is fantastic because you've broken it up so beautifully that it's given a lot of clarity. Even like I mean, I'm like I've understood the kind of mistakes that I have made in my communication because when we are putting stuff out now, especially with the pandemic become and social media and digital presence has become so important, and it's just like and again like communication has become like a it was always an important part, but communicating in this way where you don't know, like if you're sitting in front of a person and communicating, it's a very different thing. But communicating in this way where you're not sitting in front of a person, you're just putting out a message and you have no idea who are the people it's reaching out to. So yeah, I think this is like a very, very important thing that you've pointed out. So, do you
Thanks.
think it's relative for certain? Is this like a thing? Like, is this relative for certain ages or certain groups of people or certain kinds of people that need to focus on this more? Or do you think like this is something which is like for anybody and everybody, irrespective of age and rank?
Okay, so let's go back to learning for a second. Before we had the written word, how did people learn? Through passing on through auditory mediums. So
Communication,
the way they did it was stories and songs,
correct?
right? Songs because the melodies stay, and stories because they make it easy. So when we were kids, we had stories with a moral. Because if I just gave you the moral, there is no stickiness,
Hmm.
right? When I tell you a story, there is a character, there is information, there is relatability. So it's, I mean, ancient wisdom tells us that this is universal. The world thrives on stories. Whether it is a Steve Jobs, whether it is Barack Obama, whether it is Mahatma Gandhi. We may not be able to list every single achievement of theirs, but we will remember some key stories, right?
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
allow us to form a picture of who they are. And
Correct.
the same holds true in our lives, whether it's online or offline. If we are talking to five people, there are 10 other people who are at some point talking about us or creating impressions about us that we don't know about,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Whether online or offline. Now, either you let them decide what the story will be about you, or you intentionally put out the right and the most authentic, keyword being authentic, story about you.
Hmm.
In my eyes, it's very simple. Either you influence the narrative or you let it happen. But it's true for everybody. Like in school, the person who was perceived the most responsible got responsibility.
Got the positions. Yeah. True.
It got the positions. Like it started as young as that, and it holds true even today in corporate.
So now, when we're coming to this particular section of Showcase Unique, and we're talking about certain programs and trainings that we are offering under this particular, and of course, like our main focus is like one that they're all customized. Sorry, working from home, and you have all the home sounds coming in as well. So, you have certain sessions, and of course, they're customized as per the personal requirements, etc. So, with coming to this, so this particular program, I feel, would be most relevant to individuals, to even groups of people, to even corporates as a whole. What would you suggest? Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been a salesperson for most of my career,
Mm-hmm.
and the best way to sell is not telling, hey, these are the five amazing features and the 10 benefits. You won't sell. Like, you won't sell.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is me sharing stories that, we had a client who tried this is the problem they were facing,
Hmm.
and they were really, really struggling with, getting traffic on LinkedIn, for example. And
Hmm.
then we helped them put out content which was relevant to their audience through their leaders, busted
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
myths, and then
Hmm.
they got leads. And then their inbound leads went up by 5x. Stories. By the way, yeah, there was a client, he when I went to sell him, and this is when I was in LinkedIn, I went to sell LinkedIn Talent Solutions, and we got talking, and he's like, this platform is why my company exists. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I used to be active on LinkedIn groups way before it was a thing. Uh, and I would just talk about the industry, the SMS industry, all these SMSs you get. This is like a
Hmm.
decade plus, probably.
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
that happened. And he said, I was just very passionate. And somebody actually reached out to me and said, I want to invest in you. He cared more about investing in me first and then what my company did. Both mattered.
Right.
And so, again, stories for corporates. If your folks know how to pitch the right stories, whether they're selling, whether they're trying to convince their teams, shared goals
Hmm.
only happen if you have a shared story everybody believes in.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
they're dry metrics nobody cares about,
That's true.
right? Our team SWAT. So we cared about being the best SWAT team, right? So that SWAT created, it was a story that my manager built for us.
So
So,
that's most
yeah,
important. Yeah. No,
it's
that's
for
most important.
individuals and for corporates. So, for example, I get a lot of clients, usually in the 15-year, 10 to 15-year experience and more. I get across the range, but 10 to 15 years, 25 years, 30 years, very accomplished, amazing skill sets. And the problem is, everybody around them has the same accolades. This by now they've proven themselves. They have the skill sets. The problem is, how do I now stand out?
Hmm.
And that's where, figuring out what your story is. How are you defining yourself, either as a leader or a management professional? um, what is that one thing that you sell about you? What are the five stories that you have up your sleeve that you can talk about? Even a resume or LinkedIn profile, right? Many people think it's 20 boxes you'll find free checklists online.
Hmm.
Are
Hmm.
telling that one pointed story about you? Why should somebody talk to you? What makes you you, the person?
That's what needs to stand out. Absolutely. Very well said, Saloni. In fact, I have no idea how many people have joined us, and I'm not even looking because I'm just in loving whatever you're saying. So, but of course, I mean, for the audience, there is like we still have 5 minutes. If anybody does have a query or a question or a comment to make, please feel free to put it in the comment section because we'd love to bring that up. But taking our conversation forward, Saloni, I would like you to tell us a little bit about the concept of the blue orange.
Um, so I like to say it's the inspiration of the blue orange. This was inspired by two things. One, which is slightly more popular, is the movie X-Men, where
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Lawrence is playing Mystique, the character, who is a mutant, who is
Uh-huh.
completely blue in color, but she has the ability to change and transform into anybody she wants. So she can look like Nani, she can look like Saloni.
Oh, wow.
And for normal life, she would take on the avatar of Jennifer Lawrence in the human
Huh.
form. And
Uh-huh.
one day when she was practicing, like, she was doing her lifts, the barbell lifts, Magneto, who's a teacher, comes and just because he can manage metal, he drops it
Hmm.
on her. And he says that the amount of effort you're taking to keep up this appearance could be the difference between life and death in war. And then there is another scene later where she is in war, and at some point she remembers that. And she sheds the avatar of Jennifer Lawrence, and her power exponentially increases.
Wow.
And because Mystique was blue also, and I was like, yeah, in a world of orange, orange is be a blue orange, which is be authentic, be you. If you're trying
Hmm.
so hard to fit in, how will you get picked? How will you be different? um, because the competition today is so diverse. It's across geographies, it's across experiences, it is across ages. um, Today a large MNC is competing with a startup. There are 45-year-olds whose jobs are being usurped by 30-year-olds. Companies are hiring
Hmm.
2 30-year-olds instead of one 50-year-old. So
Hmm. Hmm.
everybody has to upskill, everybody has to stand out and be a blue orange. The key being be authentic because nobody can replicate you.
So build your own self. So that's it. The bottom line is be you, right? So build your own story. That's
Yes,
fantastic. That's
I
fantastic. So make a
used to
story
be,
about what you are. Yeah.
yeah, I used to be told, oh, you're too talkative, you're too vulnerable, you're an oversharer throughout most of my life.
I've heard
Today,
that
I
a
get
lot as
paid
well.
to
Thank you.
talk. I get paid to talk. Today, my clients who are 1.5 times my age come and discuss with me how to build their brand, or are comfortable sharing a lot of their details because I'm vulnerable. So the same vulnerability in sharing, which was considered a weakness, the day I
Hmm.
decided to own it and not tamp it down,
Yeah.
allows me to connect with my audience, with my clients, and build a business I thoroughly enjoy being in.
Yeah, you don't have to fake it. That's you. So, and then automatically, the moment it's you, there's passion, there's sincerity, there's hard work, there's integrity. Everything comes in, and these are the key elements required for good business, for anything to work. And I
Yes,
think everything kind
yes.
of fits in. Yeah, it's fantastic. So this has been a lot of very good learning for all of us, Saloni, and I've learned so much again out of this. And every time I talk to you, I think I just get a lot more information out of you, which is like fantastic. It's always fun. And for the audience, just want to share that we put the Google form link in the chat box in the comment section, so they can pick up the link from here. Anyways, we'll be sharing it out with the recording on our socials again. So feel free to reach out to us. And for a session with Saloni, we do individual, we do corporate, we do group sessions. So there's no problem at all. And of course, so Saloni, before we leave the audience with our last slide, which does share some things about the blue orange. So would you like to leave that one parting comment for the audience?
The one parting comment was be authentic, be visible, and have the right narrative.
Yeah.
Put it out there, folks.
Perfect. I think that's the most powerful thing and perfect words to end with. So, thank you so much, Saloni, for your time. And this has been a fabulous session. And yes, and to the audience, thank you so much for joining in. And the sessions are here to stay on LinkedIn, on Facebook, as well as YouTube. So please feel free to go there and have a look anytime. The Google Form link has also been shared out. So please feel free to fill that. Please keep in mind that every information shared with us will be totally confidential, and we are not going to spam you with anything unless until you want to be spammed. That's a separate thing. So
That's why I
thank
would
you.
say unless and until they want more information.
Yeah. Then we are happy to spam you with as much as you want. So thank you so much for everything. And thanks, Saloni. Looking forward to connecting soon on this. And I think
Yes.
I'm going to be my first one to fill up the form because I need a lot of lessons from you. And so thank you to the audience. And until our next session, which is going to be with our last, fourth and the last trainer, which is next week. So we will soon be announcing about that on Monday. And so until then, take care of yourselves. Stay in touch. Write to us, tell us what you want, tell us what you're looking for. We are only helping you to find you and to find you and make a stronger you. And that's what YOUnique stands for. So thank you very much. Take care and good night. And thanks, Saloni. We are getting off
Thank
the
you.
stage so that the audience then can see the last slide. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Nani, for having me here. It was a joy and a blast.
Thank you so much. Thanks again.